Welcome everybody. And today we are looking at the power of momentum. So how do we get things done, but also how do we keep getting things done? So we build consistency in our business. And that is really the key to success. It's not what we do once in a while or those big breakthroughs or those one moments where everything comes together. It's more the small things we do well on a consistent basis that drives results. So very often we don't see it coming we have our plans, we see it through, we're doing those small sort of 20% of things that get 80% of the results every day consistently. And then suddenly we look back and like, oh, I've reached my goal. It's not like a big momentous thing, but accumulation of the small things. So today we're going to look at what does it take to get those small things done on that consistent basis, and what can we do to make it easier to achieve that as well. So this is one of the value sessions, one of the events that happens on a regular basis within, it still says the Dream Clients Club, and I realized I haven't updated the graphics yet on the school group, but it is now called the Value Whispering Circle, because I want this to feel more like a community, and we'll see in a minute why that's just so important. So it's now the Value Whispering Circle, but I think you're already in there already. If you're not, come and join, because there are masterclasses and things. There's a lot in there, so come and check it out. So these value sessions, they're all linked to the Value Whispering Blueprint, which is my approach to business growth. So it's mostly based on my marketing, communications, and sales background. But experience has taught me that's not enough for you to feel confident and succeed in getting your business out there consistently. So it starts with understanding your true value, which is here at the top, and more importantly, your sweet spot. So we look at your vision, your values, everything that's unique and special about you. Then we discover who are your right fit clients, and who is it that you want to be working with, who can you have the most impact for, and who can you serve profitably as well. We have to have that sort of trinity. And then we look at where those two things overlap. So why will your clients love everything that's unique and special about you, and why will you love working with your dream clients? So what makes that relationship so special, and that sort of overlap we call the value sweet spot. And once you know that sweet spot, that's really the key to everything, and the key to a lot of what we're going to talk about today in momentum, because it helps us focus on where we can have the most impact, where for the skills we already have, what can we most do with those? And we stop worrying so much about what everyone else is doing, because we realize, well, everyone's got their own unique sweet spot. So we're not competing with different people. We're really looking at, well, how do we maximize our profit, our impact, the way we serve people within the space. Once you know that, then we can start to craft the right offers, and we can move into the marketing and sales, which is then getting those offers and our business out in front of our ideal clients on a consistent basis. So it's like two little words, but they're really huge piece of work. And we want to be always visible to our ideal clients, always out there building those relationships. And it doesn't need to be in a big way, as we were saying. It doesn't need to be a big masterclass, but just those small touch points, those small conversations, that cup of coffee we have on a regular basis with our clients. And it's those small actions done well consistently that drive momentum and results. And we look at then, how do you build your self-leadership alongside that? So what I've seen over 3 decades of working in all different aspects of marketing and communications is that I could give you the perfect marketing plan, the perfect marketing message, and it wouldn't do anything to drive your business forward if you don't believe in that. Because if you don't believe in it, when you're communicating and sharing that with others, they won't believe it. They won't feel that authority. They won't feel that connection, that resonance. So we have to firstly really believe in what we're doing and that we can make a difference, which you all can, but you're just building that self-belief around that. Then we want to build your mindset and habits so that you're working for you rather than against you, which sadly a lot of us have these limiting beliefs that hold us back. We have habits that keep us distracted, that aren't necessarily building us up. So we want to get our habits and mindset working for us and building a productivity, which we're going to look at all of this in a little bit, because here you can see these little segments, and I don't know if it's big enough on your screen, but at the bottom you've got this yellow one, you've got confidence. So when you know what you're doing and you're getting paid for that through your marketing and sales, that builds confidence that this is needed in the marketplace and I can make a difference and earn the income that I want. When you have that self-leadership and the value weaving together, when you're out there being visible, like sharing your message, helping people, and you have that energy and focus and the right mindset to help you do that consistently, you're going to create an impact. And then once you know what you're doing and you have that belief, you build the momentum because you can keep doing it. So all of this works together. So that's the Value Whispering Blueprint. And today it's all about mastering your mindset, getting things done, building that momentum, which is mostly the productivity and time management. But as I talked about before, real momentum is all of it. It's all very much interlinked. So we're going to touch on how we can bring that together. So the goal today is to start to identify what has been holding you back. Where can you focus to build more momentum? Understand what momentum means. What are the 4 pillars that make up momentum? And start to calmly build more of it without working harder. That's the key. When you're doing the right things with the right focus, and with the least amount of distraction, then it's not about working harder. It's about getting more of the momentum, doing more of the right activities with, as I said, that right focus and mindset as well. So I have a good question before we get started. What are your favorite ways to procrastinate? Because we know we all have some. So momentum requires 4 things. It requires clarity. You need to know what you're doing. Now, this is a key thing that comes up when people are procrastinating. Often it's not because they're lazy, and it's often not because they don't want to do something. It's because they don't know what to do, or they don't know what to do next, or they know they have to do this big project, but they just don't know that next step to take. Well, what should I do first? All of these things are a little bit fuzzy. Without that clarity, it's really hard to knuckle down and do things consistently. It's like, if you got in your car and just drove, how long would you go if you didn't know where you were going? If you didn't have some kind of goal or some kind of destination, you'd probably get to the end of the road and say, this is silly, and turn around and go home. Maybe you've got a goal of having an adventure, or like, I'm going to find a town I've never heard of before, but there's always some goal, or we don't do things. So that clarity is really, really key. Then we need focus. So the focus comes from not knowing what to do, but really knowing what matters most. What is that thing we will need to do next? And this is where the 80-20 rule can come in. Like, what are the 20% of activities that drive 80% of results? And this is something that comes up all the time on the podcast. And Maria Franzoni was talking about it recently. She wrote her whole book about this when she took the Pareto principle and took it down further to figure out, well, so the 1% of people that get booked to speak, what do they do differently? And she found specific things. So you can even boil that down to, well, what are the 1% of things that I do that if I just did that a little bit more would have a big impact on my business? So really prioritizing what matters and what matters for you and for your goals in the context of your goals. So it's not what anyone else says is important. It really has to be what you think is important. And support. If we try and do it alone, and we had this morning, didn't we, with Marissa, and she was like, well, I've been working on my business on my own and not getting anything done as quickly, and there was as much sort of joy and focus and motivation as when she comes to the group calls first. So when you go it alone, you don't quite have the same momentum as when you're there with a group or even just one other person that can help encourage you, give you the insights you need, highlight your blind spots, help smooth that path, give you some insights, some additional skills. There are so many things that other people around you can provide that help you to build that momentum. And one of the big things they give you is accountability, staying on track. I think this is 5 minutes before a guest comes, when we clean our house, the whole house is cleaned in 5 minutes if we have a guest arriving, versus like, if we don't have any reason to do these things, we'll get to it in our own time, bit by bit, but it doesn't get done to a deadline. So this kind of pressure of a deadline can really help to stay on track as well. So what stops us? All these great things. So doing all the things without a clear goal. And that's kind of, as I was writing this, I was like, these are kind of two things, because if you don't have a goal, that's when you end up doing all the things because you're not clear on what you should be doing. So if you have a clear goal, you don't necessarily end up doing all the things, you end up a lot more focused anyway. Letting self-doubt or perfectionism stand in the way and slow you down. I think we've all been there. I know we've all had conversations about this before. It can come up all the time. And this is where, when we have some support and accountability, other people can say, hold on a minute, is that true? They can challenge us on that. They can highlight that perhaps we're going into the perfectionism, or maybe there's a doubt holding us back, because very often we don't notice these things. They've been around a long time and it feels like it absolutely is fact, when maybe it's not, but other people can help highlight that for us as well. And then jumping between shiny objects and urgent tasks. So everything is like overwhelming when we're in that space. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's not the space to do your best work and build that momentum, because you're kind of doing everything apart from what you should be doing. Doing things the way you think you should do them. So often we're doing things a certain way because somebody told us that's the way to do it, or that's the right thing, or, this is the ultimate way to success. But if that's not how we work, if that's not how we want to build an experience for our clients, it's going to be really hard to do that on a consistent basis, not knowing the steps required or not having the skills we need. So we talked about this just a minute ago, that very often when we're procrastinating, it's not that we're lazy or we don't want to do something, it's that we don't know where to start. We don't know what that next step is and what follows that. And then that's kind of, we get stuck in overthinking all the things we could do and never actually pinpointing what we need to start with. Or sometimes just a skills gap, and we're trying to do something that we're not the best person to do it. And again, because we don't really know what we're doing, it takes us longer, and there's a lot of procrastination along the way as well. And trying to do it all alone. And yes, that can be getting support and assistant in your business to support you, even if it's just on a specific task, but also having that community as well really, really helps to keep you on track and motivated as you build your business. It's really tough to do it on your own. And when we're all on our own, finding those communities, it can be really powerful. So you can't build momentum if you don't know what you're working towards. So we talked about this. You really have to have that goal. And it starts with how you create value and what your vision for the future is. So when you start with knowing how you can bring, what value you have to bring to the marketplace, how you can make a difference, and what you want to see change in the world as a result of that, is a start point of goal setting. And then you want to look at that overlap and decide, well, who am I going to create impact for, when, and how? So then we're looking at the plan. So we want the goal and the plan working together, and that's where we're going to get the clarity. And we want to move away from these should do's. All of this has to be our way of doing things. And it can take a bit of time to look into this. You all have access to the Summer Business School where we dive into that. So it's all about finding what works for you, and it may not be what's working for other people. It's great to be inspired by what other people are doing, and if it feels like it could be a fit, try it, but don't lock that into your strategy if it doesn't feel like a right fit, because if it doesn't feel good, we won't do it consistently. And I don't know if you all remember Monica when she was in the program, but Monica really had this challenge of being consistent, because she was told that she had to send 100 messages a day on LinkedIn, and she was told, this is what you say. And it didn't feel like her. It was pretty aggressive. It was very full on. It didn't reflect the relationship she wanted to build with her clients. So she was really not very motivated. She did it because this person was really pushing her. So she had that accountability, but it wasn't feeling good at all. So she stopped ultimately. And then the guilt started. Oh, I know what I should be doing this, but I'm not doing it because it doesn't feel comfortable. And then everything in her business ground to a halt. However, when we took that step back and we looked at, well, what is your vision? What is the value that you uniquely bring to the market? Like, who do you want to be helping? And what does that impact look like? Then suddenly she could see that messaging people wasn't necessarily the wrong way to go, just how she was going about it. We changed her messages, we changed the rhythm, and suddenly it felt so much more authentic that she started to be getting a steady flow of clients into her business. So it wasn't necessarily the activity that was wrong, but it just wasn't set up the way that was meaningful for her. And as soon as she made that shift, then everything changed in her business. So it's all about that feeling of alignment as well, making sure that our goals and our plans align with, and this is why it should all start with your vision and values, because then it's all going to be in alignment, particularly if we do that overlap with the value sweet spot we were talking about. So the next pillar is focus. Momentum isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. And what matters most to you, to that relationship you're building with your clients, there's certain things that move the needle, that are meaningful for them as well. So it's really starting to personalize your approach to business. And productivity, like focus, is personal. What's important to you, how you work best, your success environment, your energy management, the time you have available. This is all very unique to you. And I know since I've been running my business, I started 17 years ago when my first daughter was 4 months old. So the time and energy I had then is very different to the time and energy I have now in so many different ways. And in between, I've had the way I work has changed and evolved and adapted to suit my time, energy, focus, what's important at every moment in that lifestyle. So again, if anyone's saying this is the one way to be productive, it's just not true because it's so personal to all of us. So for example, there's the Pomodoro technique. So this is where you work for 25 minutes, you set an alarm and you take a 5-minute break and then you come back and do it again, which is great. And it can really teach you how long you take to do specific activities. But personally, I find that very distracting. So I've doubled it to 50 minutes on and then 10 minutes off. And I use that 10 minutes to have a quick walk around the block with the dog or do some stretching or have a coffee, a guilt-free coffee because I've earned it. So you can really play around with some of these techniques that are well understood and used and find out, well, in what way does this work for me, the way that I work best? And then we have time blocking as well. So this is where you put a block of time in your diary and say, okay, so from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock every day, that's when I'm focused on my social media, sending out messages, following up with people, creating my posts. From 10 till 11, I'm going to do this. But time blocking works for me to an extent, but then I've also brought in themes. So one week, the theme will be all around planning out my masterclasses and podcasts for the next 3 months. The next week will be all about applying to podcasts and following up on the people I applied to the last month. Then the next week will be a focus on getting my blog posts done, for example. So every week has a different focus. So I have built themes alongside the time blocking. And for me, that helped me get more things done because there just wasn't enough hours in a week to get done everything that I needed to. And then I realized it doesn't need to be done every single week. There are certain activities that can just be themed in different ways. I have some clients who have a lot of success theming their days. So Monday is content creation day. Tuesday is client outreach day, Wednesday is whatever. So you can play around with these ideas to find what works for you. And an energy audit is a wonderful thing to do, and I highly recommend it because not all times in the day are equal. And you definitely hear people saying, oh, I'm a morning person or I'm a night owl, but there are everything in between. So it's really a great exercise you can do is just to get a piece of paper, fold it in half and put a plus at the top of one side, a minus at the top of the other, and then just track everything you do in the day and just think, does this give me energy or does it take it away? And also note at different times of the day, like early morning, mid-morning, late morning, lunch, after lunch, and so on. And just be mindful of what kind of energy do you have. It's not necessarily low or high, but Some days, like in the afternoons, that's when I have more of my creative energy. The mornings is when I have more focused energy. So you can use the different types of energy and map your activities to what works for you best in the day. And all of these things is going to help you be more productive, but also build more of that momentum. As we're saying, it's the small things we do consistently that build the momentum, but helping us do that is really key. We want to work with our rhythms as much as we can. So the other thing that can really help is getting some support. So not going through your business all completely on your own, because when you hit a wall, it's the support that will keep you going. And I know that whenever I have like this cycle, and it's like every 2 or 3 weeks, I have my momentum and then I lose it for some reason or other. But I have a coach and friends I can go to, and they're amazing, give me that pep talk and getting me back on track. I say, hold on a minute, what are you saying to yourself? This is crazy. So that all helps. And I wouldn't have been able to stay in business anywhere near as long if I didn't have a supportive community and coaches and programs and groups that help me with this along the way. So finding that right community is wonderful, because, and again, not all communities are born equal. Some are, you need to find that right level of support, because some are just the kind of community that almost feels supportive, but then when you really think about it, you realize, oh no, they're just keeping me stuck, or they're keeping me at this level, they're not building me up. So you want a community that's full of people that you find inspiring and don't sort of pat your back, oh, it's okay to be that way and stay there. We want an inspiring community, as I say. And you want someone whose guidance you trust as well. So the next pillar is accountability. Accountability helps us to stay on track. It gives us that soft deadline. We know the sky isn't going to fall down, but we feel obliged that, oh, I know people come to the Blueprint program calls, even if they don't have a question or don't need support specifically, because they want to be able to say, oh, I did this. So it gives them some accountability on that as well. And it helps us to not just have good intentions, but actually follow through on those and get into action. And as we've been saying, consistency really is the key to success. So having consistent accountability, not just once in a while or once in a quarter, but on a regular basis, that really helps us to build that momentum, because we only do two things in life. We do what we love and we do what we're being watched on. And this is the challenge when you work alone, is nobody's watching. If you do something or don't do something, it doesn't change anything for anyone else, apart from maybe your clients, they miss out. But there's no downside for anyone else but you. So it's very easy to get away with things. So we need some accountability to help us to stay on track and stay honest and keep working towards those goals. So I would like to know, which pillar do you need most? Now, do you need clarity and goal setting, focus and planning, support, community and guidance, accountability, or do you think you need all of it? It is different for everybody, but knowing what you need most will help you to focus on that, right? Get that thing done first. And we were saying earlier, we always have so much we want to do, so many things, ways we can improve. It's just looking at that one thing that we can do next and keep at that one thing until it works for us. It becomes a habit, then move on to the next thing, because it's really those small tweaks, those little 1% improvements that help build the momentum, that help take our business forward. It's very rarely these one-off moments of brilliance or those big breakthroughs. We're waiting for a big breakthrough and then we realize, oh, we had it, we just didn't recognize it because it was in all of these small things that we're doing consistently. And the trouble with these big plans is that every day you don't achieve it, you feel like you're a failure. Yes. And that can, like, that feeling doesn't help you get things done. So it's good to have like that vision, as I said, but to break that down into a goal that's small enough that you know what you're doing now and next, and you have that clarity, is really going to help you get there faster. So write it down, keep it visible, keep referring back to it is really key. So it's all about being mindful, being realistic, and adjusting the plan until you get the version that you can stick to the most. So really, when it comes to Momentum Month, it's all of these things together. It's that clarity of your vision, who like staying in that value sweet spot so you can use your skills and strengths the most to make the most impact for your business and for your clients. It's about being consistent, and it's about having those right habits and behaviors and setting it, really having that environment that sets you up for success as well. All of that working together is going to help the momentum, but it's really to recognize it's the small things done consistently. It's not about the big breakthroughs necessarily. It's breaking those down so we can take those small actions and making those actions as easy, as aligned, and as comfortable for us to take as possible, because otherwise we don't do it. So to help with that, I'm launching a new offer next month. Well, no, it is next month. At the end of this month, we're starting with a live session, but there are some modules that you can already dive into and work through. So in the Momentum Month, we start with a 90-minute well-defined goals setting session. So this is 90 minutes, and we're going to go through a specific goal setting session that helps you to not just define your goal, but to look at, is this aligned? Do I have the skills? What exactly do I need to do? When and how? Where am I today? Because we always think, oh, we're starting from scratch, but we never are. So it's really looking at that goal from every possible angle to make sure it's really clear and we know what our next steps are. So it's creating that goal and then making a plan off the back of that as well. Then to help with the focus, you have the self-paced lessons to create your success environment. So this is a self-study. It's several modules that you go through that's going to help you understand the strategies behind how you do or don't do things and what you can change to make it easier for you to get things done. It's looking at what environment do you need? Do you like music or not music, or all the things you've learned in the past that where you've been your most productive, you've been your most focused, and consciously taking those lessons and building them into your daily activity. So we're building those habits based on what we already know from the past experience works for us. So it's building that personalized plan. There's a whole series of modules you can go through. They're just small ones. It's very reflective, but it's taking what you know works best for you, but you probably aren't doing and you've completely forgotten, and making that intentional and part of the way you do things. So although this is a month program to help you get momentum and build towards that next level of success in your business, it's really building those habits that are going to stay with you for a lifetime as well. Then with the support, every week we're going to have a 30-minute live check-in call with me. So if you have any questions about your business or getting things done, you can ask those there as well. But it's really that accountability to say, yes, I've made progress, or I didn't make progress, and this is what I've learned, or I'm going to do differently next week. So you can have those little check-ins, those little commitments as you go through as well, and a private community as well. So 24/7 that community is available to answer questions, give support and encouragement, and so on. Plus you'll have the accountability of the weekly check-ins, of course, and accountability buddy, and also a custom AI progress tool that you can use each week to capture the lessons you're having, what's going well, what isn't, and what you're going to do, and build on that momentum through, like, in terms of how you get things done as well. So it's all of that working together is going to make this your most productive month and help you really start to see progress in your business. Plus, you'll have a mini productivity course as well with some of those tools that I was talking about, the default diary. We'll look at the Olympic method and different methods that you can play around with and see what works with you. They may not all of them might not work for you, but you can start to dive into those tools and how you can adapt them to fit you. And you'll also get the first two modules of the Blueprint program around understanding your vision, your values, your unique value, who you want to be working with, and defining your value sweet spot. So you can stay within that sweet spot to help you be the most focused, active, and aligned in everything that you're doing. So that's going to really help you as well. So all of that is complete bundle to help you be your most productive in October. So there's the online modules, which are self-paced and ideally done before the live session. at the end of October so that you can come to that with a really clear idea of what you want to do in the next month to have that sort of kickstart in your business. That's what's going to make that difference. And you'll have the live 90-minute session where we're going to map out those goals, and weekly accountability calls. You have the community available 24/7, and there is a VIP upgrade if you want, where you can add in a 90-minute private session with me and unlimited email access to me throughout the month. So if you have any questions, if you want to send me an email every day telling me what you've done, so you get that daily accountability, it will help you get even more from that month as well. The investment, if you want to join. Now, those of you in the Blueprint program, this is included. So nothing for you. Your investment is nothing. Just your time, energy, and focus. For anyone else, the investment is £250 for the month, or 3 times £87. And for the VIP, that's 750, or 3 times 250. Now, I've run the Momentum Month before, but only on a private basis. And they just had the goal setting session and the weekly accountability, which was 750. So that's where that price has come from. But now you're getting the power of the group, which we said is so important, having that community around you. That's additional support and accountability, plus the online modules as well. And the AI tool as well. So there is more built into this and for the same price. But of course, if you're doing it as a small group, I am limiting the places to 20 because I want this to be a really nice supportive group going forward as well. The live session, the 90-minute live session, will start on the 27th of October, so after the school holidays basically, and that will be at the same time as today, so 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. here in Europe. Those places are limited, and if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer those for you, or if you want to dive in, you can go to melitta@campbell.com/momentum and you can sign up there. As I say, if you're already a blueprinter, nothing to do. You just have to come along. But if you are not currently a client, you can join that program. However, if you do decide off the back of that to join the Blueprint program, the full 12-month program before the end of the year, then I'll take whatever you've paid for this program off the cost of joining that program as well. So yeah, for Blueprinters, all the bonuses are free. So I wanted to leave you with some of my favorite mottos around building momentum and productivity, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. How could this be simpler? Trying to do always less but better, and you can't ride 2 horses with 1 ass. Always my favorite reminder because it makes me giggle too. I don't know if anyone else has anything else that helps them to stay on track. Feel free to share those mottos in the group. But before we sign off for today, I'm just curious, what has been your biggest takeaway or insight today? What's that gem that stood out for you? And what are you excited to go and do? Thank you all for coming today and like throwing yourself in. Hopefully you found that helpful. I'll see some of you in the Momentum Month. And yeah, it starts on the 27th of October, but the sooner you join, the sooner you have time to go through those bonus modules to help set you up for your most momentum-ish. That's not the word, is it? Productive. Let's go that way. Productive month in October and November. I'll be sending out the replay if you want to go back through anything, and hopefully you'll join us at the next one. We have the action networking session next week. Then we have a break for school holidays. Then we start Momentum Month, and then we'll have the pod club, we called it. It's like the book club, but for the podcast. So you come and just share what stood out for you from the podcast, share your kind of insights and what you want to discuss. And it was really great, the last one. So there's always a lot of content to discuss as well. So hopefully you'll join us for one of those. Have a fantastic week, everybody.